This is CinePunked, this episode, The Night the Reindeer Died. There have been many adaptations of Charles Dickens' classic Victorian novel, A Christmas Carol, a story of the redemption of an angry man during the festive season. It's virtually impossible to get through the Yuletide viewing without encountering at least one of them. Director Richard Donner and star Bill Murray joined forces in 1988 for their own modernisation of the story, Scrooged. Written by Saturday Night Live stalwart Michael O'Donoghue and Mitch Glazer, with a cast including Karen Allen, Carol Kane and Robert Mitchum. Hello, I'm your host, Robert J.E. Simpson. Remember me? Regular listeners will know that here at CinePunked, Christmas is the one holiday of the year that we regularly mark with an actual themed episode. And this year, as I'm sure you have worked out by now, we have decided to cover the delights of Scrooged. And ready to wage a war of words this edition are none other than lovely Ben Simpson.
Hello.
And back from her extended leave of absence, Dr. Rachel Kelly.
Ho ho ho, I'm back, bitches.
So harsh, straight in with the meanness. Oh dear. I mean, we did miss you last year.
Yeah, I missed you guys too, and I especially missed not doing the Christmas special. You know me, they call me the Christmas fairy around these parts.
It would have been good to. I mean, I would have been interested to hear your take on Home Alone.
Home Alone. I have many thoughts, but let's not get sidetracked because I have many thoughts on Scrooged as well.
Well, if you haven't already, Rachel, we recorded an episode about Home Alone. You can listen back to it. It's on our website and also available via our podcast on whatever streaming platform you go to, and then you can feed back to us via the joys of Twitter and Facebook and all the rest of it. See, I've got a plug-in for our social media already. Who knew I would do that? Segue, yeah. So we're going to Scrooge tonight. There are many classic Christmas films. There are many classic adaptations of Charles Dickens' novel. And this is my choice. I decided it was my turn as host to pick a Christmas movie. We were familiar with Scrooge beforehand, I take it?
I love Scrooged. Unapologetically love it. Christmas isn't Christmas until I've watched Scrooged.
I've seen it before, yeah. So I'm familiar with it.
You're familiar with it?
Yeah.
You fond of it? You don't like it, or?
See, it's been a long time since I've watched it, so I remember whenever I first watched it, I was quite young, and it was a bit on the, I don't know, scary side.
Mm-hmm.
It has that darkness to it.
So I was thinking that Scrooged is one of the few adaptations of A Christmas Carol that I would not let my children watch.
Yeah.
Blackadder's Christmas Carol is another one.
So watching it now again, I was like, well, it felt a lot shorter than what I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
There was bits that happened in it. I was like, wait, that happens now? Whoa, okay. That was a lot sooner in the movie than I remember. But it's not right. I just hate the ending. But we'll get to that.
We will get to that. I have to say, look, I mean, I agree. It's definitely one of the darker adaptations, and I think that's for me is what I like about it. I mean, you know me well enough to know I've got a rather dark sense of taste anyway. I remember we had it on VHS as kids, so it's one of those few boxes that I vividly remember. I think in a big VHS box. So for young people who may not know, VHS back in the videotape days, but the big box VHS must be an X rental. And I remember having that. I remember watching it, and I've seen it on TV multiple times since. And every now and then, I seem to have to buy another copy of the film.
Is there like a 4K upscaled release of it?
There's not, and actually, I mean, I suppose I'll hit this on now. There is a Blu-ray that's out, which is a pretty decent high definition transfer. But there was talk of them doing a special edition, and it was announced a few years ago, and it's never manifested itself. The only version that is out. The only extra they have on it is a trailer for the film, which is really, really disappointing because this is a film that deserves a bit of a discussion about, a bit of analysis. Its production history is kind of... checkered.
Yes.
I think it's probably the best way of putting it. I don't know how much of the production history we actually want to get into tonight on this because people can read all this stuff online. You know, I mean, that's part of what we do, but also I just like talking about the films and kind of our responses to it. And it's Christmas, you know. So yeah, so it's a film that I remember very fondly, and weirdly, the last time I watched this, I sacrificed my DVD because I brought it with me on a Netflix and chill date, and yeah, we didn't finish it. So I guess that's a good thing.
The Kama Sutra, the Hindu art of love.
Read the inscription.
No, you read the inscription. It says Christmas, and then the rest is
It's Sanskrit.
Sanskrit. I didn't need any kind of manual. I want you to know that.
But
What a lovely story.
I sacrificed the DVD and I've had to purchase it again in order to do this podcast. So, yeah. Hope you're enjoying it. You better have watched it. Anonymous person. Yes. Yeah. So it is dark. I mean, this is only a few years after Ghostbusters, and I don't know. Have you done any reading around this, Ben?
No, me read. Are you having a laugh here?
I find a YouTube video. I don't know.
No, I haven't looked into any like history or done any research.
Okay.
So to speak. So
okay. Well, I mean, so after Bill Murray did Ghostbusters, he basically disappeared for a few years. He decided that it was found quite stressful. He wasn't really supposedly enjoying the sort of the fame aspects of things and the stress. And then this was basically his big return. And so a lot of the marketing was all about it's Bill Murray and ghosts again. So for a period in the 1980s, that's all Bill Murray did was ghost films.
Frank Cross is a man of true vanity, whose specialty is inhumanity.
He's fired? It's Christmas.
Thank you. Call the county. Stop his bonus.
Then he saw three-wheel dress. Now what scares him the most
I'm the ghost of Christmas present.
is the chance that he's losing his sanity.
Oh, I'm having the weirdest day.
Bill Murray, Scrooged, rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, November 23rd at theaters everywhere.
Yeah, it sort of feels a bit like what your marketing department does when it doesn't know how to market your film. Because this, apart from featuring Bill Murray and ghosts, there's really not a sort of a massive line of succession between the two films. And I don't know, I can sort of see why it didn't perform as well as people expected it to, because if you don't quite know what direction you're supposed to push this, then how are you getting the audience behind it?
Yeah, although I mean, in terms of performance, I mean, it's on a budget of 32 million, it made over 100 million. I mean, it more than did its business.
But I gather the studio weren't especially happy with how long it took to recoup that.
No,
they spent 32 million on that.
Yeah, apparently so. But I mean, whenever you talk about production costs for films and budgets, it often doesn't just include the actual writing the film, the cast of the film, and the making of the film. It's also things like marketing. I mean, there will be other ancillary costs, and also that you're looking at a kind of global spend as well. This isn't just like entirely on that's production entirely for New York, for example, where it's shot. I mean, this is a much bigger thing.
It's not though. It's shot in LA.
It's set in New York.
Yes. A couple of exteriors filmed in New York, but the rest of it filmed in LA.
Yeah, but it's a New York. It's a New York film in terms of how it's supposed to look and feel, which also, I guess, Ghostbusters was. I mean, it was also the same year as Beetlejuice came out. So there's a lot of kind of
dark, black, ghostly humor.
Yeah,
what was going on in 1988?
Ben was born.
I was born, so
yeah. That's what happened. He cast a dark
young bastard.
Yeah, I cast a dark shadow on everything. Everything I touch.
Well, here, Scrooged was released on my 10th birthday, so there you go.
Somebody at home is now like sitting down with a pen and paper trying to work out how old Rachel is now. Like.
Yeah, 2 years later, on my 12th birthday, Roald Dahl died.
I think you mentioned that before, haven't you?
I may have done, yes. I'm still not over it.
Rachel, repeat a story as if that'll never happen.
Well, I am very old. I forget things now.
Who are you?
Come on, you're not that old.
Yes, as the man who's 10 years younger than me.
But it's a weird thing that's going on. But I mean, you're talking about 3 or 4 films out of obviously everything that's come out at that time, and then Ghostbusters 2 was the year after this. So there is this little burst of stuff. But I mean, obviously, when you look at cinema, not everybody was doing these ghost films. It's just that there are this series of sort of rather iconic or very distinctive ghostly Hollywood tales.
Yeah, and then Ghost itself is the year after that. 1990. Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm gonna admit I've never seen Ghost.
Have you not? Do you know what? I was on my way to see Ghost for my 12th birthday when I discovered on the radio that Roald Dahl had died. So that's how I know.
Regular listeners may want to send us messages telling us how they found out their favorite people had died. And hopefully over the last couple of years it's not all been COVID. So yeah, I mean, like, this is the Christmas Carol story, which I'm sure we've all seen versions of. Do we have a preference for our favorite version of the story?
I honestly have to say, for me, it's a toss-up between Scrooged and Blackadder's Christmas Carol, which probably tells you a lot about how dark I like my Dickens adaptations.
Quite dark,
but with a bit of humor as well. I don't know. I mean, a lot of the Muppets Christmas Carol is just wonderful. But yeah, I mean,
can you guess what my answer is going to be?
Yeah,
as Ben says, they were drinking from a fuzzy mug.
Story, isn't it? You know, it's okay. It's uplifting, etc., etc., etc. Horrible man discovers the true meaning of Christmas, but it's really bleak and it's really depressing. So actually, anything that injects a bit of humor to it and makes it a black comedy, I think makes the message that much more, and it makes it more palatable for a modern audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think, I mean, Scrooged for me is one of those rare adaptations that kind of transcends the source material. I think Scrooged to me, I almost, this is going to sound ridiculous because, you know, the clue's in the name and they're adapting, you know, A Christmas Carol all the way through. But I would actually forget that it was an adaptation of A Christmas Carol because I think it works on its own merit. It works on its own steam. And I think it's very rare that you can say that of an adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, primarily for me, it's a Bill Murray vehicle rather than an adaptation of Scrooged. What I love about it, this is what I absolutely love, is that, you know, he's a TV executive adapting A Christmas Carol, and yet he still manages to live in a world where A Christmas Carol doesn't really exist, because the first thing he thinks when he's told he's going to be visited by three ghosts is not, holy shit, that's the same as the film I'm adapting. He's like, what? No, don't be ridiculous. That's not a thing that ever happens to anybody ever. I mean, you're adapting A Christmas Carol in which a man is visited by three ghosts. How do you not go, well, maybe I'm the unrepentant bastard in this narrative? No, he still has to go through the whole thing to discover and see the Christmas future. But, you know, that's a loving sort of nitpick there, because I love this film.
Though even after he's visited by the three ghosts, it still doesn't click.
No, he very much has to be like burnt alive in a coffin before he goes, oh, I'm a complete shit. Maybe I better redeem myself.
No, I want to live. I want to live. Oh, God, I want to live. I want to live. I want to live. I'm alive. Holy shit, what a break. I'm at work. Oh, God, it's the sun. I never look at the sun.
I don't think he redeemed himself.
Yeah. I make a note for that to come back. We'll have to come back to the theme of redemption. Ben, I was going to ask you, what's your favorite Christmas Carol adaptation?
I would have to say the Muppets.
The Muppets.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Why?
I don't know. I just like it. Like it feels, well, I know it's like a bunch of puppets and all, but it feels genuine.
Mm-hmm.
The performances in that, compared to say Scrooge, like, you know, what do you call him? What's his name?
Okay.
What was it, Michael?
You're talking about Michael Caine, who plays Scrooge in Muppets Christmas Carol? Yeah, Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine. Like, I don't know. He's just a really good actor. I think. And he plays the part really well. You know, he's got that I'm a bastard face during the whole movie, and then, you know, you can see that sparkle at, you know, at the end.
Mm-hmm. Christmas is a very busy time for us, Mr. Cratchit. People preparing feasts, giving parties, spending the mortgage money on frivolities. One might say that December is the foreclosure season. Harvest time for the moneylenders.
he plays it completely straight, and he's faced with a bunch of puppets bursting into song, and he plays it completely straight, which I think is brilliant.
Well, is that the issue then with this? Is that the reason that some people maybe struggle with Scrooge is that Bill Murray does not play it straight at all. You know, there are moments certainly of it, and some kind of heartfelt moments, but every time, you know, you feel like he's feeling something, like the guy he encounters frozen to death in the subway.
Yeah.
You know, like he's sitting, he's chatting to him, and for a moment, like you feel that he's actually connected as a human being.
Yeah.
And then he starts laughing and joking about stairs and everything else, and you just feel like he's just come out of that. I mean, it's almost like like self-deprecation is used as a way to kind of get over some of our anxieties and everything else, is that actually he's using his humor to offset his own discomfort and realization about what he is.
Geez, maybe I should have given you the $2, huh?
You moron! You jerk! Why didn't you stay at Claire's? Why didn't you stay with Claire? She would have taken care of you. You would have eaten. You would have been warm. You might be alive. You'd be a prettier color, I'll tell you that. Okay, is there a way to get out of here, Herman?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I think, I don't know, I mean, Bill Murray is in some ways an ideal character for this, because I mean, certainly, you know, his career since has been this kind of, he's built up the star persona around him as being this kind of reclusive, not terribly approachable, what you know, you know, he's not exactly Mr. Warm and Fluffy, and so he gets to play this misanthrope, while still kind of cracking wise all the way through, which is just I mean, that's why I think of it as a Bill Murray vehicle, because he's Bill Murray being Bill Murray.
Well, even saying that, you know, Bill Murray as a character, that actually you I mean, it's a slip of the tongue, but actually, you know, we were thinking about Bill Murray as this sort of caricature of himself at this point. Like, this isn't, you know, I suppose it's the star persona thing where, you know, you know exactly what you're going to get when you use certain actors in your film. They are going to behave in a certain way. They're going to perform in a certain way. And people are coming as much to see them be themselves, or that type of themselves that they put on screen, as they are actually to kind of engage with the story. I mean, I certainly, Bill Murray is one of those actors that I will go and watch his films just because he's in it, because I want to watch him.
And I mean, you know, they paid him $6 million to do this film, which, you know, huge amount of money in 1988. And, you know, you don't pay somebody that kind of money to play Ebenezer Scrooge. You pay that kind of money to be Bill Murray in an adaptation of A Christmas Carol.
His self-awareness, you know, I mean, why not? Let's hit on this whole area of redemption, because it's a hugely important part of the Scrooge story. I mean, that's essentially why we watch this, because we like this idea, I think, that, you know, the most horrible of human beings can be touched by the magic of gift giving and snow and shit, and suddenly become this wonderful human being that we all want to embrace. I mean, that's the essence of Christmas Carol, of Scrooge. And Frank Cross, Bill Murray's character, is sort of sits in a slightly odd place within that. You know, he's sort of self-aware about what kind of a shit. I mean, unlike some of the other Scrooges who don't seem to think that they're actually that bad a person, they just think they're very sensible and logical. He's aware that he's a shit.
Yeah, doesn't care. It's got him where he wants to be. And I mean, that for me is the only bit of it that doesn't quite ring true, is the idea that I mean, being a shit has worked for him, but also, you know, he has worked bloody hard to get to where this is his life's work. This is his life's ambition. Now, it's not the job that's the problem. So I don't really understand why we're being asked to believe that he's going to turn his back on the job, because that's not the issue. The issue is that he's just being a prick. And he doesn't have to be a prick. There is nothing in his contract with IBC that specifies must be a colossal prick. So he could continue to do the job, but just be nicer to people. So That is the bit that doesn't ring true. The rest of it, I know everybody hates that sing-along at the end. I know lots of people
It's like,
don't like
that's a massive cop-out, to be honest. Like,
I just love it. I don't even care. I just love it. Alfred Woodard starts up, put a little love in your heart, and I just go, yes, I love this.
I hate it.
Go on, Ben. I know you got a lot to say on this, Ben, because you almost started ranting to me yesterday about it.
I just hate it. I hate that ending. Like, it just feels so ungenuine. Like, this guy has not gone through the crazy psychotic experience that he's just had. He's still a shit. Like, even snogs some bird, and then as the other bird comes along and snogs him, and it's completely fine, you know. So yeah, I just hate it. No, I just hate it. I hate the ending. I just think, like, that massive rant that he goes on at the end as well while everyone's singing. It's like, just shut up. Like, this could have ended like 5 minutes ago.
I mean, well, supposedly he went massively off script with that. Bill had a terrible habit for improvising stuff.
Yeah, well, it was terrible improvisation, if you ask me.
How much? I mean, well, that's when you sit and have to ask the question: how much of that is the fault of Bill Murray for being allowed to improv his way through and defining stuff?
Because obviously he improved his whole way through that film, in my opinion.
But
I mean, yeah, he did. There was a huge problem on set a lot of the time. So yeah, a lot of that stuff is Bill Murray sort of ad-libbing.
But the question is, is that the fault of Bill Murray? Or is that the fault of Richard Donner as director?
That's probably Bill Murray.
I don't think we can put a lot of blame at the foot of Richard Donner, because from what I understand is he was constantly trying to rein Bill Murray back. They had completely different ideas of where the script was going to go, and even the scriptwriter had a different idea. So everybody had a different idea of what movie they were making. Bill Murray, Bill Murray'd, Richard Donner, Richard Donnered, and the scriptwriters just sort of cried quietly in the corner, and
Well, yeah. I mean, this is one of the things I think that would interest people if they ever do manage to bring out a special edition with all the cut stuff, because apparently there's a huge amount of material that was shot that was never included in the film. So there is this suggestion that actually there is a different film out there, and whether that's a better film or not, almost doesn't matter. It would just be nice to see why how it is those creative decisions are made, because obviously the filmmaking process is not a simple one at times, and there are things that maybe worked in the moment but don't work in the whole. There's other things that, if you've got two people at loggerheads, we've talked before about Orson Welles in particular. Sorry, Ben, I know we're going to be talking about Orson Welles in another podcast we're recording later. But when we have talked about people like that, and for people who are listening to the show regularly, I mean, it's good to kind of reference back to the people that we've chatted about. But someone like that, who has had a studio then come in, and even though he's shot the film, he's been starring in the film, he's had all that control, then somebody else comes in and has a completely different vision. So what you end up seeing on the screen isn't anything like what anybody who wanted it intended. So I mean, I'm curious as to what Scrooged might have looked like.
There's a lot of things in that movie that it's I think there probably is like a different cut, like because just the way it flows, it feels really disjointed to me anyway. From the Ghost of Christmas Past and the taxi and teleporting here, there, and everywhere through the past, and then there's the ferry,
Carol Kane,
that has a bit of an aggressive side, which is probably the only funniest bit, seeing Bill Murray getting decked.
Actually getting decked as well, apparently.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
By her. Like, that was probably the funniest bit in the whole movie for me. Like, even that whole bit, and just the teleporting here, there, and everywhere, and then the soppy. Well, I suppose that's the taxi driver, the soppy, lovey crap
Niagara
about his.
Falls.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the wee little random bits that they put in between those ghosts appearing as well. Like, I don't know. There probably was a lot of stuff that might make it flow a little bit better. Well, in my opinion.
I mean, I guess that I suppose without any of us actually knowing, I mean, it's all speculation on our part as to how it may have looked or shaped, or what point people made decisions and said this isn't working for us. How much of it's down to script, how much was down to the improvisation, how much was down to the arguments that apparently Richard Donner and Bill Murray had. One of the things that I think is interesting, I think what we should do is maybe have a little bit of a discussion about the ghosts themselves in a second, but I think one of the odd things about this film is that any other time you watch Scrooge, the Christmas Carol story, Scrooge is the sort of top of the chain. Yes, there's the Marleys in whatever form the Jacob Marley of the story is a kind of previous employer, boss, mentor who comes in and kind of has that initial control and like, wise up.
Yeah.
And you can see there's always a relationship there and still kind of fear. But this is the first time that Scrooge actually has a living superior.
Yeah. Well, there was two superiors.
Well, I mean, he's got
the dead one, and then there's the alive one.
Well, he's got the live one. Very famous actor Robert Mitchum, who was quite well known for playing quite a hard kind of figure at times. Plays Preston, his boss, and even that's a weird kind of relationship. So Frank Cross is already subservient to an extent.
Frank, killer. Yes, Preston?
Have you any idea how many cats there are in this country?
No. I don't have those, no.
27 million. Do you know how many dogs?
In America?
48 million.
Wow.
We spend $4 billion on pet food alone.
4?
Now, I have here a study from Hampstead University which shows us that cats and dogs are beginning to watch television. Now, if these scientists are right, you should start programming right now. Within 20 years, they could become steady viewers.
Yeah, I mean, it does give you, and again, it kind of gives him, it gives that character a bit of sympathy, because, I mean, this is clearly his job's on the line. He has to deliver. And he has to, the reason he has created this situation where they're doing a live production of A Christmas Carol on Christmas Eve is because he is expected to go huge. He's expected to draw in the audience on an incredibly competitive evening. So he is accountable. It's not just him being a bastard for the sake of being a bastard. You know, obviously he wants to be there. This is his job, this is his life, he wants to do it, and he doesn't have to treat his secretary like crap or his subordinates like crap. He does that because that's who he is and it served him well.
I need a full report on a guy named Bryce Cummings. He's an LA slimeball.
Okay, you're doing Helmsley Palace at 7 o'clock, and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna take my son.
No, you're not. You're staying here with me. We're working late.
Well, I have to take my son to the doctor.
Grace, when I work late, you work late.
But I made the appointment 2 months ago.
I care.
But, you know, he does have a very, very good reason why he needs this to happen, and he needs it to be a success. So again, that is the bit that sort of doesn't, because he's basically sabotaging his entire career with that closing section, and it's redemption, but in the wrong direction, almost.
Yeah, I mean, where I find it uncomfortable, I think that the film is actually looking at it through 2021 eyes. It feels to me like a lot of the film is caught up around issues of trauma of one form or another. I mean, actually, right from an early age, his father sort of like dismisses Christmas as just a thing. Here's a pile of veal that you're going to give us anyway. Like, happy Christmas, you moony little git. So already there's a disconnect between him and a loving relationship, although there seems to be some kind of connection with his mother. But when you look at what the other stuff that happens to him, I mean, there is this sort of traumatic elements that keep on getting repeated, that he experiences, that he can't quite get past. I mean, the ghosts in this are particularly abusive, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Well, apart from, death at the end.
I mean, you say that's not abusive, but he literally ends up with him in a coffin on fire. I mean, I can't think of anything worse from burning to death.
Here's the other thing as well. So the whole Scrooge and his girlfriend sort of
Claire.
breaking up. Well, I'm thinking about the girlfriend figure in the Christmas Carol.
Okay, yeah.
Can't remember her name, but she's Claire in this iteration.
Uh-huh.
But them breaking up because he's more interested in his career is part of the mythos, and it's part of the whole, that's the story that we all know. And he actually gets her back in this, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the incident that causes them to break up, he's not being completely unreasonable. There is absolutely nothing unreasonable about a 20-year-old man who has just been asked to have dinner with the head of the network, wanting to go to dinner with the head of the network. Now, fair enough, it's Christmas Eve, and she is absolutely within her rights to want to keep to their Christmas Eve plans. But see, if, in all honesty, if it were me, I would be saying, you go, I want to keep to the plans here, but you go, have a great time, good luck. And it's framed as though he's just being a complete shit for wanting to avail of this incredible opportunity that's being put before a kid. He's 20, which again, that longish hair is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Yeah. The moment I realized that Bill Murray was supposed to be 17 when he meets Claire, I was just like, okay, that's not what a 17-year-old looks like.
No.
I don't think. I'm not sure. Many of my previous partners would have been massively keen on me taking a decision like that, but you don't
have to be incredibly keen on it, but you do have to understand that it's an enormous opportunity.
I mean, I feel that we're missing a chunk in their story. I mean, as Ben says, there's this sort of disconnect at times. And I feel that there's too much of a leap between them Kama Sutring and that. But then we are only getting edited highlights of his past experiences. Yeah. We're not seeing everything. And you feel that there's a fracture. But one of the things that Ben, you probably aren't aware of is that actually the reason their relationship is played so much in the film is because that's a Bill Murray suggestion. He felt that it wasn't working and there needed to be more about them. And I don't know how you feel about that, if that's a good thing or not.
I probably could have
done with less.
Took it or leave it, done with less, to be honest. Everyone has relationship issues, like, big deal. Get over it. That's my opinion.
Never coming back to Ben for advice about anything. He's like,
they probably are supremely badly suited, the pair of them. They're
she's very, much about looking after other people to a certain degree, apart from whenever it's Christmas Eve, then it's all about herself. And then Frank, that's not his name, like, Frank's working his ass off pretending to be a dog, and then she's like, but dinner, but once in a lifetime opportunity. I completely agree with what Rachel's saying there. It's like, well, why not have a adult discussion? This could lead to somewhere, which would improve both of our lives.
Exactly.
But that doesn't happen. It's just like, well, screw you. Maybe we should be apart then. If you're not going to come to Christmas dinner, which we do every year with our friends. Yeah, it's just so.
She's not supportive of his career at all, and I get that they are completely polar opposites, which is why I'm like, why are you together? Because he is clearly career minded and corporate, and he is extremely ambitious, and he wants to climb that ladder, and she is not ambitious, she's not corporate, she is altruistic, and she wants to devote her life to other people. Fair enough, great. The two of you should not be in a relationship. Sorry, Ben.
That's part of his upbringing, though. Like, with his dad's, like, his dad says, go get a job if you want something. You got to work for it.
Here, Francis. I've got something for you. Merry Christmas.
A choo-choo train?
No, it's 5 pounds of veal.
But, Daddy, I asked Santa for a choo-choo.
Well, then go out and get a job and buy a choo-choo.
Earl, he's only 4 years old.
All day long, I listen to people give excuses why they can't work. My back hurts, my legs ache. I'm only 4. The sooner he learns that life isn't given to you on a silver platter, the better.
You know, in that flashback. So that's probably, you know, that's been ingrained in his head after years of his dad probably saying that. So maybe that's where the whole career focus for Frank has come in. But also obviously a lot of damage. Even the way the whole Christmas gift exchange with him and her, you know, you can tell he's a bit of a damaged individual in that regard, because like he's never had a normal Christmas. Or
no, and the gift of knives, I mean, is a very practical and in many respects.
Yeah, that would be
like,
something he would get for his dad, who is a
watched
butcher.
Yeah, but you've watched those infomercials late at night on TV. I mean, when you watch those, you want to buy those knives.
Was it QV something?
QVC.
Or, yeah.
I mean, so I kind of get that, but I think there's also, I mean, that's also domesticity. That I mean, that's a gift that sort of symbolizes the home and them actually being able to share a space. It's not. He may be socially awkward, which I think he is. He may struggle with relationships. You see him at the Christmas party.
Yeah, he just wants to do his job and then leaves.
Yeah, I mean, being handed photocopies of a pretty bum, and you know, like there's a party happening around him. His boss even tells him there's a party, enjoy the party, and he can't do that because even though his boss is giving him an instruction, he's still caught up with whatever else. I think there's something else that's
He's not interested in Christmas.
But that's probably that's his childhood, though. That's you know, because that was never.
But James manages to be all about Christmas.
That's probably, you know.
Well, he's the older brother. I mean, Frank's the older brother, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I wonder if part of that is that Frank kind of spends time by himself, and then whenever little brother comes along, little brother will have been the center of attention. I mean, this happens. You both have children.
Yep.
You know, I happen to be doing this with one of my own siblings. You know, so that there is that kind of where attention shifts. So actually, he could still be feeling slightly detached and alone. But little brother, at the same time, can be looking up to big brother as somebody that's company, that's friends, and it's a very different kind of relationship. We don't see enough of what goes on with them, but there's very clearly still affection there. I mean, see him when he's watching the quiz game and he's getting into it, and part of that might just be his competitive streak is being tapped into. But I think
endless knowledge of all the TV shows that he's watched whenever he was a kid.
Yeah,
but also, I think older sibling. I mean, I get. If that was either of my younger siblings, I'd be, you have to know this. How can you not know this?
Robert would be disappointed in me.
We don't do family games anymore. It's
no.
Yeah, we used to, but apparently it stopped being fun.
But there is clear affection there. It's not like they don't care for each other, and I think actually in the end, you know, his honesty about what goes on with the gifts and stuff, I mean, and actually you see him when he's watching I think there's a point when he sees himself in the coffin just before, you know, he realizes it's him. There is concern for his little brother. Yeah
I mean, that's his first thought as well. His first thought is, oh God, it's my little brother.
Yeah, it's
not, oh God, it's me.
Because that's what I mean. Obviously, at this point, it's the stuff that's actually touching him. It's stuff that he does care about, as awkward as he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to. We're not going to be here all night, but we want to talk about the ghosts and the kind of actually the way that that thing. So I've put forward the suggestion that actually the ghosts in this are quite aggressive and violent, and I'll go further and say that actually he's bullied in a way into redemption. Which is a very evangelical kind of, I mean, certainly I can think of certain religious groups that would adopt the same kind of approach in terms of like, all right, you must do this. But rather than just kind of, you know, kind of being cajoled by memories being kind of gouged, there is a very physical bullying that goes on from each of the ghosts.
Yeah. It's very 80s. It feels very 80s to me. I mean, the 80s seems to have a very different attitude to what actually constitutes bullying and what constitutes acceptable behavior, interpersonal behavior. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, Carol Kane's performance is just one of my favorites of all time, but it's horrible what she does to him.
The ball
and it's
breaker
unwarranted. He doesn't do anything to warrant that level of violence.
Yeah.
I mean, not that anybody, oh God, no, I realize what that sounds like. Not that anybody ever warrants physical violence against him. Good grief, no.
CinePunked quotes taken out of context.
But it's not even as though he has acted aggressively towards her at any point. There's no element of making sure that she is physically safe by preemptive strike. It's not. He is quite respectful towards her in a lot of ways. But she just attacks him.
It's yeah, he certainly holds back on it, and he does seem to be aware. And I think whenever I watch that, every time I see it, I kind of go through a bunch of emotions, and I think part of it is like it starts off as kind of like a playful kind of like, like a little bit more of an aggressive kind of sexual play, and it's like there's a bit of a frisson here, and it's like, and I'm sure most of us have encountered that either for ourselves or we've seen it around us at some stage, but it very quickly escalates to the point where this is uncomfortable, and he has said, "You got to stop this," and she continues.
And he never actually defends himself either, from memory.
I think he does once try and stop her.
Yes, he stops her from poking his eyes out. Yeah, but
But that's also slapstick. That whole routine is a slapstick routine. Now, we haven't talked a massive amount about slapstick on the podcast to date. We did a little bit, I think, when we were talking about Chaplin.
Yeah.
This is not a slapstick film.
No, but that is a slapstick sequence.
Yes, yeah, but the slapstick kind of comes out of nowhere. I mean, I wouldn't want anybody to think that I don't laugh my ass off, and it's her delivery of it. It's that very innocent.
Wouldn't be a Christmas movie without some slapstick, though.
It's a Wonderful Life manages.
Well, I think actually we did talk about this about Home Alone last year. Yeah, we did.
Home Alone, good grief.
So that kind of violent altercation that we laugh off. I mean, I'm not quite sure what our relationship is with it or why that it's going on, but Ben, I think it's a fair enough comment that it's an element.
Oh, I'm so relieved it's been so long. Hello, Frank. I'm the ghost of Christmas present.
I had a funny feeling. Why did you do that?
Sometimes you have to slap them in the face just to get their attention.
Yeah. They are violent. Well, I suppose there's a little bit of that slapstick even with the taxi driver.
Oh yeah.
He just walks through the door, and Bill goes or Frank goes to walk through the door and smacks his head off the door because he's not a ghost. He can't do that stuff. And then what else? I don't know. Obviously the fairy.
He's verbally aggressive to him. I mean, he's verbally aggressive to him.
Yeah.
The Ghost of Christmas Past is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hugely. I mean, it's insulting. It's goading.
Is that not just a normal New York cab driver?
There's that, isn't there?
It could well be. I'm not entirely sure.
He's playing like what's the word?
Playing a stereotype.
Yeah, stereotype. New York taxi driver.
Love that New York accent, man. I'm gonna put that out there.
No, don't. I'm walking here.
Going the wrong way! Relax, Frank. Enjoy the ride. How do you know my name? I know absolutely everything, Frank. You see, I'm the ghost.
Yeah, I guess in a way he is a stereotype of one. The fact that he's in an older cab also puts him out of place and out of time, which sort of means that you accept his behavior and his insults in a way that maybe you wouldn't if it was somebody contemporary. Although then we have the Ghost of Christmas Present, who is very much more physically active. But then is that also a response to...
I think it's like, because you hear the way she talks.
Like a child?
Yeah, like a child, that innocent. And then she's like, he thinks, I'm not going to go along with you. But then she's like, nah, here you go, mate.
How much of that as well is a response to what's going on in the 80s in terms of sort of feminism and female rights?
Well, the 80s is a period of backlash for feminism and female rights. I mean, you won't hear me often quote from this, but Backlash is released in the 1990s discussing exactly that. The 80s is Reaganism, it's corporate, it's greed is good. And it's very much pushing back against that sort of second wave of feminism of the 1970s. So it's the 80s is kind of it's not a great time for the advancement of female emancipation.
Sure, you can even tell that with the way some of the dancers and all are dressed, and
the solid gold dancers,
and the clothes that the secretary wears and all that. Not the
not the nice one,
not the nice one, but the other one.
Yeah, I mean, well, there is something. I mean, there clearly is something at play here about the crassness of certain aspects of society. Seems to be a tension between moving on and being stuck in the past. I mean, he feels stuck in the past in many respects. I mean, Frank Cross is stuck in the past. Maybe it's all that TV he watched. Maybe it's the fact that he hasn't progressed beyond the lack of love from a father.
Yeah, he's a 4-year-old stuck in a man's body.
Yeah. I think that's fair enough. I mean, he down to I mean, animal rights was certainly well underway in the 80s, and yet he's trying to staple
I think
antlers to a mouse.
I think they treated the mouse better than the woman in that film.
Yeah, probably did.
Yeah. And I mean, there is that very uncomfortable sequence at the end as well. And that's the thing, was Bryce Cummings. That character is an odd one for me because he never actually seems that bad.
No, I mean, John Glover has one of those sort of faces that
extremely likable. Yeah,
extremely likable, but very, very long, very pronounced, almost comic book-esque, I would say. I mean, he looks like a comic character. If you drew him in a comic
to help,
that's the guy.
Slimeball, he's called in it, but he's not actually that slimy, and he seems perfectly pleasant. He doesn't seem, obviously we're expected to go, threat to Frank, but he's actually comes in, feels very reasonable. And it's only at the very end when he laughs and goes ha ha ha, he's finished, that he seems in any way Machiavellian. But his comeuppance is to be sexually assaulted by a woman suffering from a head injury. I mean, what?
Films isn't great
I find that deeply uncomfortable, that bit. Deeply uncomfortable.
I love it. Lay down, Frank.
Mr. Cummings.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I mean, watching it this time around, I was struck by the deterioration of the censor.
This is why I hate the ending. Like, it just falls apart.
I'm not convinced that it falls apart, but it's like those massive kind of screw. It's like, I mean, I'm going to cite John Landis as an example here, which is probably a bad idea for all kinds of reasons. Which, Ben, I don't know if I don't know if we had that conversation with you. I can't remember. But it's like everything is just kind of chaos, and it builds up, and you have to have this almighty chaos in order to have a resolution. So it's just you up in the ante, up in the ante, up in the ante. But then it's also fair to say that both the scriptwriters and Bill Murray have said that Richard Donner didn't get comedy properly.
Yeah.
So this is a point where I kind of wonder, is this one of the sections where the tension that exists between those two creative parties actually is made its way onto the screen, because he's trying to do something in a particular way that he thinks is what's funny, whereas they're actually trying to do something else. I mean, there is a good satire about television in here. There's a interesting I think discussion probably about mental health in amongst it, and it certainly prompts questions and discussions about it. But somehow that gets lost because you have people. I mean, Rachel's put it in a way that I never would have thought about putting it, but it's so apt. Like, she sexually assaults someone after having suffered a head injury. I mean, you write that down and you cannot argue that is not what has just gone and happened.
Yeah, and that's objectively not funny.
No, it's
Then
not.
they
It's not a
then
funny sequence. It's a really uncomfortable sequence
Mhm.
because I mean it makes her out to be kind of sexually rapacious and slightly pathetic. And it's so deeply. I mean, again, reverse the genders. That is absolutely nobody would ever think that was funny.
Although I suppose, I mean, if there's a mitigating factor at all in that sequence, it's that there's a man with a shotgun.
And that's another thing. There's another bit about that. Yeah, it's this.
Elliot.
I don't mind the singing, but a lot of that end bit is. I mean, the bit where it doesn't sound like there's a lot of partying going on up there, and Bobcat Goldthwait's character just fires the shotgun and says, "Everybody party!" And there's a woman at the desk, and she's in tears. She's terrified. She's obviously terrified. It's Christmas Eve. She thinks she's about to die. And this is supposed to be funny.
How did he get in the building? Those two security guards at the left, they are useless. If they let him in.
Maybe they don't like him. I mean,
they're dead.
Yeah. Well, they don't like him. I mean, that's set up early on that they don't really like Frank Cross. They're trying to they're being polite and they're doing their job, but you know the look that they exchange when he walks in and he gives them a real smarmy, sleazy look, and they're obviously like, yeah, well, absolutely up yours, my friend.
There's
so maybe
lot.
They let him in with a gun. Who's like, yes, Christmas Eve massacre in the TV studio. Great.
I mean, Elliot's the one character that, I mean, again, his plight and his situation is used as a gag throughout this. I mean, he's a guy who literally ends up with nothing, but he can't even have nothing at every point. It's like, he goes out, he decides to take up drinking, and then his drink every time. I mean, I'm not convinced he becomes an alcoholic because he can't seem to get a mouthful of whatever it is he wants to consume anyway. Bottles are falling out, they're being splashed, they're being smashed. He can't seem to get a break. And but we are left to laugh at those moments. I mean, it's Schadenfreude. It's laughing at someone else's misfortune, and
I didn't laugh though.
I didn't laugh at those bits. Oh God, guys,
I
you're
did
making me critically evaluate this film that I love.
I don't even.
Away from it going,
I don't even think I laughed back in the day.
No.
I think I probably did, to be fair, and I think we're meant to laugh at him.
We are, yeah, but again, I wonder if that's what the guys mean by Richard Donner doesn't get comedy, because that's mean. It's mean-spirited. It's punching down.
Yeah. I mean,
the whole movie's punching down now.
She'll understand. She's an amazingly understanding woman. I'll just come home and I'll say, "Hi, honey. We have to move to a studio apartment. I hope you don't mind."
I mean, where that punching down sort of becomes acceptable is in the fact that there's some form of redemption. But I mean, even then, I'm not convinced, because I think that the redemption that the way that he tries to make amends with Elliot just seems too extreme. Yeah. I mean, what I'm seeing is somebody actually who's having a mental breakdown and has gone from sort of like in complete panic to complete overload. And I mean, I don't come away from the end of this film thinking everything is going to, Scrooge has now stabilized and everything's going to be happy ever after.
Elliot Loudermilk is going to prison on Christmas Day.
Somebody's getting arrested.
Yeah,
that's not going to.
He's being arrested and he's going to prison. He's not getting hired back at double his salary. He's going to prison for quite a long time.
And him getting his job back or whatever is not going to fix his marriage. And
no,
because I mean, his wife was prepared to walk out on him because he lost his job. And that's not a healthy marriage to begin with.
No.
Also, Frank Cross gave him his job back, and Frank Cross is definitely about to be so very fired he's not going to be able to get a job in the mailroom of IBC.
I think Frank keeps his job. I think because
possibly,
he gives them good live TV, and clearly people are watching that stuff because it's this whole. I think that's where the cynicism comes in, and it's the same cynicism that has. At the end of Ghostbusters 2, everybody singing. Same problem. Everybody's singing along because New Yorkers love to sing song, and everything's going to be better. But
is there a sing along in Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters 2,
Ghostbusters 2, yeah. Whenever the Statue of Liberty's come along, it's prompted by the good energy of the New Yorkers singing.
Yeah.
It is Christmas and New Year, so I mean, this is sort of vaguely allowed. I mean, this is what happens this time of year.
Is it really?
But it is a very, very I was like, sorry. So all this stuff's going on. I mean, he is basically generating it's relatively cheap TV, But it has given them a weird sort of redemption, because you know it's going to be on the front page of every newspaper the next day, and they are going to talk about it. And at the end of the day, that's what he wanted to do, was to create television that people were going to talk about.
And then sure, Mr. Alive Boss Man, sure, he was like, he's going to lose his job tomorrow, and then his wife talks him around, oh, just let him be, you know.
Yeah,
it's fine. Look.
Well, he's pleased because, you know.
And then he starts singing along at the end. So I think Frank's keeping his job.
Yeah, all right. You're probably fair, but Elliot's definitely going to prison.
I think it'd be hard pressed not to at least have to go out on bail. I mean, I don't know. And they may be able to bluff their way through and say it was all a massive TV prank. You know, because he doesn't kill anyone, and the guns are all fired within the comms.
That's the best that can be said. Is he doesn't?
Oh, come on, he would get put away for attempted murder.
It depends on whether or not somebody actually within that building presses charges, or whether or not they use the line that actually this was just all TV, it's make believe. Because the line is very definitely blurred. There's a very definite fictionalized thing that's happening, and then there's all that, and I don't know. It's just weird. And then
I think Elliot's going to prison.
But then all this trauma prompts the little child. The you know, everywhere. It's like, how? Why? I mean, well, I suppose that's the thing. It's like, you know, he stops talking because he sees his father shot, and then he has to see somebody else wielding a shotgun and threatening anyone to actually be prepared to speak, and he's happy about it. I mean, it's insane. Literally, it's insane.
But yes, but also he witnesses Bill Murray just go on this, and I get why people don't like his diatribe at the end. I get it, but it feels so heartfelt, and it does feel unhinged. It feels appropriately unhinged to me, but it is so very heartfelt, and you know, it's part of the magic of Christmas. I don't care. I
disagree.
Everyone. It's nice.
It just feels too long. I mean, I'm okay with it, but I think it could probably do about 2 minutes shorter.
Like, it could have stopped whenever them two had a snog, and then he kept going.
He did keep going after that. Yeah.
You know, yeah. And for a guy that's, you know, why didn't he shout out his missus's shelter? Like, everyone go donate to this place. He had the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, get them fuses and turkeys, but nope, he didn't. No. Perfect opportunity, gone.
No. Yeah.
In summary, though, I mean, I think this is a fairly honest appraisal of the film. Is that there's a lot that you know should be questioned.
If you just watch it for what it is and don't ask any questions,
exactly, then it's lovely.
Yes,
and then sing along at the end.
No, I hate the sing. I still hate it. It's an okay movie. But I think when you start picking holes in the whole thing, and now because I've been doing these CinePunked podcasts for a while, I start to pick holes in every movie I watch.
CinePunked ruining films for you since 2015.
Yeah.
The best thing about being a film theorist. Let me ruin film for you.
Well, I mean, Rachel, last words on this?
I love the film. I hate that you guys made me evaluate it critically, because I don't want to do that. I want to just love it unapologetically.
That's fine. You can go back loving it, but
what? I mean, I still have a lot of love for the film. I'm not going to fall out with it, because it's, I mean, as you said, it's so wonderfully dark. It's deeply cynical. I think actually the fact that there's an element of deteriorating mental health underneath it all, maybe it's played in the wrong way, but actually it prompts conversations and thought processes which I think are quite useful. We didn't even get into talking about Danny Elfman's score and some of those wonderful special effects that are in this, which also attract me to it. I mean, deaths, like caged human beings tortured in hell of his chest, is just like one of my favorite images. And I like it when they're actually, I mean, even they're singing and dancing by the end of the film because they're so into it. Maybe that is Ben's idea of hell, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, for me, this has been an interesting conversation. This has not gone the way that I thought it would.
Never do, Robert. They never do.
Once or twice, but I mean, like, it hasn't made me not love the film. It doesn't mean I won't bring it out and watch it with someone else again. I mean, I happily will. It's a great film.
Just bring the DVD home with you whenever you.
I'll bring it on a memory stick and stream it from future. You know, it's just easier. So look, that is us on Scrooged. Folks at home, wherever you are, whatever your media is. Let us know what you think. I mean, have we been unfair to Scrooged? Do you have other thoughts on it? You know how to get in touch with us. We're on our website, cinepunked.com. You can also get us on Twitter at CinePunked. We're on Instagram at CinePunked Film. And don't forget, if you like the podcast, to like, subscribe, share it, tell your friends, all the usual stuff. From now, I mean, thank you very much, Ben, for giving up your time to watch another film that you seem to have had a difficult relationship with now.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't mind the movie. It's just whenever I sit and think about it critically,
there's a problem.
There's a problem.
Rachel, thank you much. It's been lovely to have you back with us.
It's been great being back.
Welcome back, Rachel.
We'll find something else to ruin for you for a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
And from me, Robert Timms as well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And we will see you again very soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I wasted 20 years of my life on pathetic little creatures like those. Finally, thank God, a friend of mine said to me, "Scrape them off, Claire. You want to save somebody. Save yourself."